Hello and welcome to the TSG3 session. We would like to start, so I would like to have your attention and thank you for joining us. I'm Istok Škerlić. I'm the facility point partner and the support structure for the pillar of quality environment coming from the municipality of Izola in Slovenia. And we will start with unfortunately, I will have to say that due to the other circumstances connected to the Barcelona Convention, Mitja, the co-coordinator Mitja Britzel, is today in Istanbul. He is exactly in charge. He is the president, so he has to be there for the chairman of the meeting. It was supposed that also the other co-coordinator, Senat Oprašić, will be with us, but will be just with the voice. I hope that Senat can hear us, and unfortunately he also, due to the technical issue and also a flu, he can't be with us. Senat, can you hear you?
Yes, okay. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, so please, Senat, just make a brief introduction to the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Istok, and I would like to greet all of you on behalf of Mitja Britzel and me, and wish all of us fruitful panel session. Actually, this panel session promote activities that we in the beginning promoted, blue and green corridors, which is really important for the future work in the implementation of EUSAIR strategy, also in the connection with the macro-regional strategy that are now implementing in the different parts of Europe, from Baltic until the Adriatic and Ionian. And also this is really important that we can implement our flagship projects, flagship projects that we prepare in the beginning of implementation of the activities. And of course, it is important that we know that in the revised action plan of EUSAIR, we had some other task, which is really important. And that task is that we define our indicators, how to measure, to verify and inform, exchange views, data on that indicators. All of that will be mentioned in the presentation today, and I'm really glad to can actually make welcomes to our speakers today, and hope in that in the discussion we will have later, we will prepare some conclusions that will be important and way forward for all of us. I will stop here and would like that Mr. Istok and Helen try to moderate these activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senat, and now it's my pleasure that whenever the co-coordinator are not present, just with the soul, but with the voice, we then ask the support for the European Commission, and that's why it's my pleasure to introduce to you the master of ceremony of this panel. So Helen, please, it's your turn to say something, I think so. Please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, Istok. And also thank you very much for the topical introduction, Senat. I'm happy to be here today to help out, actually, when two speakers cannot be here. I have been following the work of the TSG3 for a year now. My name is Helena Sundblad Schäfer. I'm working in the European Commission, DG Regio, and it's my responsibility to follow the work and the revision of the EUSAIR strategy. And I'm following the work of the TSG3 and also the TSG2 transport part. This has been really interesting. It's a highly technical area, the area of environment as also transport. So I'm happy to have here today 3 experts that you will be listening to. And the first expert that we will listen to is Mrs. Anna Marconato. And she's from the Central European Initiative. She will be with us also online. And she will present the ASAP project. And this is based on the experience acquired in the North Adriatic and in line with the flagship project, which is called ESOSCOP, which is the Adriatic Sensitive Areas Protection Mechanism. And this project aims at transferring knowledge and best practices to the whole Adriatic basin in order to strengthen maritime protection from the effects of spillover pollutants, especially in the case of big-scale accidents at sea that cannot be managed by a single country, but need to be faced together through cooperation, many countries together. The presentation will show the results achieved by the NAMIRS project, financed by DG ECHO, but also co-financed by the Interreg IPA Adriatic program. So, Anna Marconato, I hope that you can hear me and that you are online, and please go ahead to present the project.
Yes, thank you very much for your introduction. Let me first thank again the organizers of this session, the coordinators of the Pillar 3, and let me thank especially Mr. Skerlich, not only for the organization of today's session, but also for the support given to all the projects that I'm going to present you. Now, I think my presentation should be put online. I don't see it. Maybe we can go ahead with the slides now. Thank you. So, okay, I don't see it. I don't know if you can go ahead maybe with the slide. Okay, in the meantime, as my presentation is put on the screen, let me say that
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you please turn on your presentation on your laptop and just tell me when to put the next slide on?
Okay. So what should I do? Share screen?
No, yes, you can share screen, but we will not see it. Just present as usual and just tell me when to turn next slide. I will just be with you. Okay,
so if you could go ahead with the slides, one slide ahead. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The scope of this presentation is to show how, with the support of European funds, we can give tangible results and implementation to the flagship project, what was said before, and I'm going to present. So next slide, please. We said before, one of the flagship of the Pillar 3 is the ESOSCOP project, which is a project dealing with and imagining transnational contingency plan to be used by Adriatic and Ionian countries in case of accident at sea. And what we did as Central European Initiative, and with the support, I repeat it again, of the pillar coordinators and of the facility point in Isola, we decided to implement this flagship with the use of European funds. We started with a first step, let's say it was a sort of pilot project, the first project, with this NAMIERS initiative, an initiative focused on not on the whole Adriatic Sea, but only on the North Adriatic area. The acronym stands for North Adriatic Maritime Incident Response System. This is a project that has been implemented and finalized in February this year, and as previously mentioned, co-financed by the European Commission, DG ECHO, so the DG dealing with humanitarian aid and civil protection. Next, please. So the challenge is the challenge identified by the ASOSCOP flagship. So the issue is that accidental marine pollution and the spillover of oil and of pollutants in general represents a severe environmental threats and risk for the Adriatic Sea. And it calls for urgent deployment of integrated and coordinated mechanism on countries, because especially when we speak of big scale oil spills, major oil spills, or spillover of pollutants in general, it's impossible for one country to deal with it without the support of the neighboring countries. Next, please. So we started as a first step, let's say, to test the mechanism from the North Adriatic area. We selected this basin for one reason. It's a very special and specific area. It's a semi-closed basin with a quite limited marine surface shared by 3 countries. And in such an area, the spillover of pollutants and of oil could cause really severe damages to the life of population living on shore, on very densely and shores, very densely populated shores in proximity one to the other, and damages to the marine ecosystem, but also to economic activities, because this area is quite relevant in economic terms when we speak about tourism, especially seasonal tourism, for fishery and aquaculture, but it's also an area of heavy maritime traffic, so with a high risk of accidents and collisions. Next, please. It is worth mentioning that a first attempt to coordinate the activities of Croatia, Italy, and Slovenia, which are the 3 countries involved also in the NAMIERS project, dated 2005. A first agreement on the sub-regional contingency plan for the prevention of, preparedness for, and response for major marine pollution incidents in the Adriatic Sea was signed by the 3 countries in 2005. Unfortunately, due to problems in the ratification project process, it never entered into force. But as a background, before developing this NAMIERS initiative, we read the conclusions of the trilateral cooperation between the ministers of foreign affairs of the 3 countries, and realized their determination to work again on the contingency planning and intensify the cooperation in this area. And there is the ASOSCOP project, so the EUSAIR expressed saying this is a major project, this is needed, this is a flagship that has to be implemented for the Adriatic and Ionian area. We were also in touch, we are also in touch, we have been in touch during the project implementation with the, let's say, UN framework, and also with the REMPEC, the Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Center for the Mediterranean Sea, responsible for transnational contingency planning for supporting countries in this activity. And we had also previous experience in the area. Next, please. So we developed this project as coordinator. Central European Initiative acted as coordinator of the initiative, but with other 6 partners coming from the 3 countries, Croatia, Italy and Slovenia, in particular the Italian Coast Guard, the Ministry of the Sea Transport and Infrastructure of Croatia, the Administration for Civil Protection and Disaster Relief from Slovenia, but also training centers and research institutions such as the ATRAC in Croatia, the University of Ljubljana, and in particular the Faculty of Maritime Studies and Transport of Porto Roche, and also the National Institute of Oceanography and Applied Geophysics from Italy. Well, next, please. What did we deliver in these 2 years of cooperation? The first thing, and it's the environmental risk assessment for the North Adriatic Sea that analyzed the risk in the area and identified the particularly sensitive areas to be protected. Then we delivered training classes to which all responders from the 3 countries participated, training classes dedicated to response at sea, to oil spill simulation, so planning also the intervention, maritime English, shoreline cleanup, so to cover all the aspects of and the consequences of spillover of pollutants. We developed common standard operating procedures for response in case of transnational intervention. We tested them in a full-scale exercise, and finally we provided recommendations in our guidelines for revising and updating the Adriatic Contingency Plan dated 2005. Next, please. Just a focus, but a brief focus on the different activities. Please go ahead with the images. Thank you. Go ahead again. Okay, thank you. So at the beginning of the project, we developed this risk assessment. When we speak about risk is a combination of hazards, exposure, vulnerability. So what we did was the identification of location of possible incidents, what type of accidents could happen, what quantity of oil, what kind of oil released. Simulations were performed and also analysis of the geomorphology, the environment, and also the social aspects were performed in the form of interviews to stakeholders in the different countries during focus groups. So combining information from oil spill simulations and these vulnerability maps that were developed with these focus group activities, a map of risk assessment different maps were developed. And what is relevant is that for the first time, we found a way to give priority to sensitive areas, so that in case of a major oil spill, the countries together could identify where to respond, where to operate first in order to protect the most sensitive areas in the North Adriatic. Next, please. I was mentioning also that we developed common standard operating procedures. These procedures in the form of instructions and checklists has been elaborated in also to ensure especially improved communication between the countries and enhanced operational coordination. So these standard operating procedures are based again on the agreement of 2005, but they helped us identifying the relevant authorities in the different countries to be involved in case of transnational response mechanism. And they also help defining what steps need to be taken in the event of an oil spill, especially concerning the coordination of the communication between countries. Next, please. And we tested, I was mentioning also this before, these procedures in the first exercise at sea organized in the North Adriatic that was organized in the Gulf of Trieste on 20th November last year. It was aimed to test especially the communication and coordination of naval units, resources and equipment available. And it focused on oil spill response capacity. Naval units from the three countries were used, also aircraft from the Italian Coast Guard. Next, please. This scenario under which the exercise developed simulated a collision between a tanker at anchorage in the Trieste area with a Ro-Ro vehicle, carrier ship coming from Koper in the direction of Monfalcone. And we designed this scenario as such based on the risk assessment. So this area is one of the area at major risk for number of ships and also for environmental characteristics of the area as such. Next, please. How do we implement this? How did we implement this exercise? So first thing, the anti-pollution local-based resources were activated. The accident was simulated in Italian waters. So the Italian Coast Guard took over the leading authority, so the role of Supreme On-Scene Commander. When it became clear that local resources were not sufficient to manage such a pollution, the NAMIRS plan was activated. And so all the checklists included in the standard operating procedures, and also a crisis unit composed of authorities of the three countries was organized. So decisions were taken together, and also communication were managed in the same crisis unit, in the same room, crisis room. Well, so the Italian lead authority requested at that point assistance from Slovenia and Croatia that was provided, and anti-pollution resources were deployed in the area. And after the exercise, also a debriefing phase was performed. All the responders were put together in a room examining criticalities and observations, and there was a list of them which confirmed that the need for further exercises, and also that the exercise had positive results, because without criticalities and observations, we couldn't consider the exercise as a positive example. Next, please. So based on all the activities developed within NAMIRS, we identified and developed some recommendations for policymakers, and the major one that I would like to underline is that the NAMIRS was just a first pilot, and the need to extend this cooperation from the North Adriatic area to the whole Adriatic Sea was underlined by all the parties. And now we go ahead with the next slide. Next, please. And now we move to the step 2, from NAMIRS to ASOSCOP. So from NAMIRS to the implementation of the whole flagship. In this case, I'm not speaking of something that has been implemented already, but of something that will be implemented starting from September on. We together again with the pillar coordinators, but also with the municipality of Isola, which is attending the project as associated partner in this case. We designed this project called Adriatic Sensitive Areas Protection Mechanism, the ASAP project. We presented it for funding under the first call for proposals of the Interreg IPA Adrium program last year. And we have been recently received the information that the project was approved for funding. We are completing the negotiation phase, and the project will start from September on for a duration of 30 months. As it was said before, presented before by the DG Regio, the colleague from the DG Regio, the aim of this project is really to transfer the results, the knowledge and the best practices achieved in the North Adriatic to the whole Adriatic Basin, involving additional 3 countries in the cooperation. So Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro. With the aim to strengthen the protection of the Adriatic Sea from the effects of the spillover of pollutants, and again, especially in case of big-scale accidents. Next, please. So 6 countries involved this time, 9 partners, additional 7 and quite relevant associated institutions. We are all ready to work together and to develop the project from September on. Next slide, please. And what will we do? Basically, the scheme will more or less remain the same of the project NAMIERS. So the project work plan will be divided in 3 main activities and work packages, as we call them. The first one dedicated to mapping and modeling, extending the analysis performed in the North Adriatic to the whole sea, organizing focus groups in Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegro. So developing the risk assessment and the map of resources and sensitive areas, also for the southern part of the Adriatic, including this time not only oil spill simulations, but also HNS simulations, developing as main output a sort of strategy for protecting and safeguarding the Adriatic sensitive areas with the same mechanism developed with NAMIERS. We will give priority also in this case to sensitive areas in the Adriatic. The second main activity, work package 2, is dedicated to testing. We will extend the training courses performed in NAMIERS to Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Montenegrin stakeholders. We will also update the standard operating procedures, including main features and suggestions from these countries. And what is really important, we will test the mechanism in additional 2 exercises, one organized in the northern part of the Adriatic, organized by Slovenia, one in the southern part of the Adriatic, organized by Croatia. And this is the last point and the last activity of the project, we will work also towards sustainability of this initiative. So to pass from European funded projects to the development of the flagship. Especially, we will work together in order to establish a sort of permanent coordination platform aiming at regular exchanges of information and data among the countries, regular training, regular joint exercises, so to keep the mechanism alive and ready for operation in case of a real accident at sea. And we will promote also the regional uptake of this mechanism in order that policymaker will finalize this contingency plan international agreement for the Adriatic contingency plan, which will regulate the relations among the countries from the conclusion of the ASA project on. So thank you. Next slide. And with this, I thank you for your attention. I give you here also my my contacts in case you need further information, and then I'm here available for any question.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Anna Marconato. This was extremely interesting as it feels also very, very urgent and useful, this project. Please stay for questions afterwards. Now we will listen to Mr. Stefano Filacorda. He is from the Department of Agroalimentary of the University of Udine in Italy. And Mr. Stefano Filacorda will present the 4-Pita-Beko project, I hope I pronounce it correctly, which is implementing the so-called 4-Pita-Beko flagship. And this project has as a goal to conserve and improve the environment through a series of actions, as well as digital platforms that will enable the exchange of information, knowledge, and good practices between different partners. This will all happen with a view to improve spatial planning and management. The actions will include local communities, young generations, and will encourage the coexistence of humans with large animal species, especially large carnivores. I now give the word to Mr. Filacorda to explain this interesting project.
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for the invitation. And you can go ahead for the slide. Okay. I am going to describe 4-Pita-Beko, 4-Pita-Beko. And this project was approved, but is under condition now, is under negotiation. Anyway, I wanted to move, please. As described before, we want, through the project, to test a solution to protect large carnivores and green corridors, and to find a coexistence between large carnivores and local communities. Move on. And why do you have to improve the landscape ability in terms of connectivity and protect the movement of wildlife, and in the same time reduce the effect of fragmentation and improving the quality of habitats? The first answer is to reduce the mortality of wildlife. But the second one, probably is more important, is to support the presence and the establish of meta-population. Population can exchange individuals and then stay in viable condition. Move. I want to show you, to explain what I mean. This is the situation in my region, and in relation to the drainage and irrigation channels. We have a big network of these channels. And this is the results of the bad planning in the past time. And you can see that how many roe deer died every day. Is in the last years, we have around 400 animals died along these channels. And only in few situations is possible to keep alive this roe deer. This one example is to explain how it's important to protect the movements and the habitats of our animals. Move. Another examples. We work on the large carnivores. In the left side, you can see Alessandro bear. We have a very few bear in Italy, especially in my region, and for that reason, we can give the name to the bear. And, but it's very important because we can connect the people, the young generation, to these animals. Alessandro Bear was captured in Italy and then died in Slovenia along the highway from Trieste to Ljubljana. The highway from Trieste to Ljubljana hasn't now any green bridge. In the same time, our colleague in Slovenia has captured a wolf, Jalko, the name, and he has moved in Italy. You can see the blue line of thanks to the telemetry data, and was hit by the car near Gemona del Friuli. It's two examples of how it's difficult for the large carnivores to survive in some context of landscape. Move. This is the reason, one of the reasons of our project. The main activities of our project is to try to apply pilot action and to develop a solution to sharing knowledge and of monitoring techniques, application of new approaches, and co-creation of common platform. And also, we wanted to apply strategy and action plan for the large carnivores and habitats of the species in the area of the project. And then you can see also we want to improve the connectivities and to use the techniques of living labs to build a new coexistence between the humans and the large carnivores. Move on. We have 10 partners from Croatia, from Greece, from Slovenia, from north of Macedonia, from Montenegro and Albania. And this is the list of our partners. Move on. And now, where do we work? I am very happy to work in this area because for me it's the first time that I work in the Dinaric area. But the Dinaric and Pindos area is one of the most important areas in the Europe for the biodiversity. It's a treasure, and we have to protect this treasure. And also we work also in the Alpine area, in the northeast of Alpine areas, and we want to maintain the connectivity between these areas, and also we have to take in account of the requirements of the local communities. We have to combine. Move on. We have two different situations. In the Alps, probably you know, is a free zone for the wolf until 20 years ago, for more than 100 years. These two pictures is not in the area of the project, is in Valsenales, is in Bozen province, and is one example how the wolf can change the management of the livestock, because the shepherd now haven't any strategies to contrast the presence or to prevent the damages of the wolves. And for that reason, the position of the local province is very, very aggressive in relation to the large carnivores, Bozen province. In the same time, you can see the natural areas with only few pictures of Dinaric mountains. And in this area, you know that is a long story of coexistence. And we can learn, because in my life, I teach ecology for the student. Every day, I learn from the shepherd, from the local people, some aspect of the ecology. And for me, it's an honor to work in this area, to learn, not only to apply our techniques. Move on. And on which species we are going to work? On large carnivores. 4,000 bears live in this area, 4,000 wolves, and more than but is a critical situation, more than 100, around 200 lynxes in different situations. Move. Why we need to manage 4,000 wolves and 4,000 bears? I want to explain you because sometimes we think about this species only on the romantic point of view, but there are some aspects that we have to take into account. For example, the wolf. The wolf, what is the positive effect on the ecosystem of the wolf? There are a lot of positive effects. It can regulate the population of ungulates and then improve the availability of food and habitats for other species. The famous theory of trophic cascade. On the other side, reducing the ungulate population can promote, can enhance the higher diversity in terms of habitat and structures of habitat, and also important point, especially for European Commission in this moment, that the European Commission is going to evaluate what is the level of protection for the wolf, is the rule to reduce the risk of spreading and transmission of disease. One example, the African swine fever can reduce the density of white boa and then reduce the transmission of this. Or another one is the tick-borne encephalitis, is a zoonosis. The other side of the moon, what is the negative effect of the wolf? The wolf can interact with the livestock activities and then can increase the rate and speed of reduction of traditional activities. We have to know that the traditional activities are related to the conservation of a lot of other species, like birds that nesting on the ground, for example. And in the same time can induce the reduction of open habitats, but can change the social situation in some part of our mountains. Move on. Please, can you? We have to find a balance, and we try to give as very small support with our project to find a balance between the conservation of biodiversity, protection of traditional activities, and development. We need, for this reason, we need to improve the positive attitude of the local communities for the large carnivores. And we have to take into account that it's not only one connectivity, it's not a structural connectivity, but it's a functional connectivity, it's a social connectivity. And if the people don't want to have the large carnivores, it's impossible to have. Move. How can we do? We have to harmonize the collection of information, build a common database and platform, transferring good management and monitoring practice, testing innovative solutions to improve coexistence, sharing common strategy and action plans, combining innovation with tradition, with expert knowledge, and involving the local communities, young generation, as citizens. Move. Some examples. Share monitoring protocol and techniques, telemetry, use of thermocameras and drones, genetic sampling, and so on. Move on. Apply innovative monitoring techniques to reduce depredation on livestock, like a proximity sensor or geofencing. We use in the Alps this kind of technique. Move on. And then one example, for example, we have a problematic bear in my region, the only bear with a collar, and we use data from the collar to communicate to the farmers the movement of this animal when approached to the farm. Move on. And then organize summer school. Please pay attention. On the left side, The young people are daughter and son of the breeders in the mountain areas, and we go in the forest to monitor the wolf together. Is another way to improve the attitude. Move on. Define and apply, you can see, is puppies of the wolf along the forestry road, and apply habitat management plans, especially in correlation to the climate change. Because the climate change in the alpine area exert some extreme events. Move on. Build maps of connectivity. This is our skills. You see there is a map on the left for the bear from the telemetry data. The yellow color is in relation to the movement of the bear, and we have to protect. Another one is a map for reduce the risk for the irrigation channels, is another statistical approach to identify the place where we put the small green bridge you see in the upper part on the right. Move on. And also, in the project, we will visit some very, very great experience, like Highway Igoumenitsa Thessaloniki or other, and incredible planning in Croatia, because I remind you that Croatia probably is one of the best countries for the new planning for the high road. Move on. And then organize living labs. We have to put together the knowledge of the farmers, the knowledge of the technicians, the change of experience. For example, in the corner, you see with the snow is the experience of the project with the Lepish people from the Nina to study what is the pressure from the bear on the reindeer. On the other side is the situation in Morocco, and how it's important to take in account of the knowledge of the local shepherd. Move on. And the last one, but we have a lot of list of action, is only to some examples I wanted to give you. Support the like activities. For example, to give some puppies from a breed center in Arturo, from the NGO Arturos in Greece, to the farmers. And the last slide, we need to protect this area, and we need to protect the green and blue corridors for biodiversity conservation, but not only, also for the human and for the planet. And I write some key words: deep ecology, digital solution, social ecology, living lab. This is the future of the nature. But the future starts in the old time when Aldo Leopold write a beautiful book, Thinking Like a Mountain, in the first part of the 90s. And in that book, he has explained what was the role of the wolf in the North American ecosystem in 1920. And only now we can understand what he meant at that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Villacorda. It was extremely interesting, especially the linkage between innovation and old tradition seems very intelligent and interesting. And also for me personally, because I come originally from northern Sweden, I know the conflicts between the Sami people and and the wolves. It's not an easy question. Now we are going to listen to Dr. Evangelia Abramidou, from the Laboratory of Silviculture, Forest Genetics and Biotechnology from the Institute of Mediterranean Forest Ecosystems in Greece. And she will tell us about how to preserve and monitor genetic diversity and biodiversity in green corridors. As is supported in the Green Deal, as well as in the biodiversity strategy from the European Commission, there are targets for conservation, restoration, and sustainable management of ecosystems. Climate change hampers biodiversity, and protecting biodiversity can contribute to climate change mitigation, among others. The establishment of green corridors to conserve important ecosystems and endangered species is essential for these natural areas. And Dr. Abramidou will tell us more about this project, please.
Okay, thank you. Can I go from here? Okay. Yes, the other side. No? Why? No. Ah, okay. I found it. Okay, thank you very much for being here to listen to me. Thank you very much for the organization. Also, it's going to enroll the EUSAIR Forum. I come to talk you for another idea for preserve and monitor genetic diversity and biodiversity in green corridors, as also Stefano Filacorda told, that also harbor and have also these extremely important carnivores. So, as we know, the European Green Deal deals with to stop biodiversity loss. And this is very important because if we lose biodiversity, we have also the problem not to survive, also we, the human people. So there is connectivity between biodiversity loss, climate change, as we can see, it's a very important issue, the climate change, the droughts, the fires that we have in the Mediterranean and the Adriatic region. And the Natura 2000 network that exists also supports and trying to protect the really important natural ecosystems. So the European Biodiversity Strategy by 2030 has targets that at least 30% of marine and landscape should be protected. And from those, at least one of the third must be strictly protected, and they have provision and effective management and restoration. So, as we know, green and blue corridors are very important for the European Adriatic region and also for the Mediterranean region because they maintain and improve biodiversity and supply of ecosystem services. Their basic feature is connectivity because they come, as also Stefano showed us, from Slovenia, Italy, Greece, Balkans, they connect all the ecosystems. And they are recognized on three levels, micro, meso, and macro. I will show you now a case study that is implemented in Greece from WWF, ELAS, from the Forestry Institute, and from the University of Aegean, that they are trying to implement to identify and map ecological corridors. The main objective is to identify and map the corridors with satellite images. And the macroscopic, they look for large mammals, and the microscopic, they look for the reindeer and wild goat. The covered area is protected areas of the mainland of Greece. And the microscopic, they look for in some mountains of Parnitha, that is in Athens, Kytheranas, Gerania mountains that in Peloponnese, Vardousia, Iona and Agratha, which is the Epirus provisions. The results will be used to formulate a policy a proposal aimed at institutional protection and ecological corridors and initiating an extended process. From that point, as we understand that green corridors are really important, I will come to my point. Okay, to preserve and biodiversity and genetic diversity, we should start also to look in the natural environment. As we can see now that climate change has a severe impact in plants ecosystem, in natural ecosystem. So we have to develop a strategy that we can set a baseline to monitor from now the genetic diversity that we have and how much can we maintain in the future. Because we have drought, we have fires. Also in Slovenia, I think they had a really big fire. It was really, you cannot imagine in previous years that in Slovenia we would have such a big fire. So we have to set the baseline, we should discuss the possibility of joint actions between the countries of European Adriatic region, so we can start now to prevent the losses that they will come in the future. Okay, I will try to be really simple because genetics is something that scares people, but it's not so scaring. Genetics is Darwin said is a natural selection. Who is stronger will survive. It's that simple for Darwin. But then Lamarck said that, okay, don't be so serious about that, because sometimes not only the genes, but the environment has a severe effect in the phenotype. So he showed the giraffe example, that the giraffe had a short neck, and then she couldn't try to feed her, so she prolonged the neck. And so that neck was transmitted to the next generation. This is the epigenetic effect. This is not a genetic, it has nothing to do with genetic base alteration. You know, we have adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, no changes there, but then you have something else in the phenotype. And this is very important. The whole community, the researchers also for humans, they are studying epigenetic effects now. So as I told you, genes are that we inherited. Epigenes is that the mechanism that does not seem the sequence, but can have a really strong effect in the expression. There are three main epigenetic mechanisms: methylation of DNA, modification of histones, and the microRNAs. So my idea is that we can start to implement, first of all, the genetic monitoring. I was also participating in a live project, and we have produced this manual for genetic monitoring. So what can we do? We can say, okay, European Adriatic region, what are the main key species, 3 species that you have and you want to maintain in the future? I think that the countries here, the most commonly species is Fagus. Fagus, you know, Fagus sylvatica. I don't remember but I can show you. And then we can start to set the baseline, to have some baseline indicators and some quantitative qualifiers for the future. In the epigenetics, from the other part, we can start now because we see that the environment has a lot to do with the mutations rather than the genetic mutation. Because when you hear mutation, you think that it's not something good. No, it's not true. The mutation happens for a reason. Also, the genetic mutation can happen for a reason in order the species can survive. But the research now shows that the epigenetic mutation is happening a lot of more frequently than the genetic mutation. So we can monitor now some epigenetic effects like drought. If the trees face some drought effects, how can they respond? How can they respond? How can they adapt? If they have some attack from a pathogen, if they have some attack from an insect. Because also in Norway spruce, as you see here, they found temperature-dependent epigenetic memory from the time of embryo development. This is very important because this affected the time of bud burst. When the bud burst, so it signifies that the maternal also inheritance, also in human, it's very important. When a woman is pregnant, the doctors say, okay, still calm, you don't have to be like, because this passes through the women to the embryo. So it's very important that we start here. I performed some epigenetic studies in Greece, and also I had a full family of Cyprus. My PhD was in Cyprus. So I had mother, father, and 384 individuals, progeny, siblings. And then I found also there that the maternal inheritance of epigenetic was higher than the paternal. And this signifies that it's a really important phenomenon that we should start from now to monitor in order to have adaptive mechanisms for the trees to survive in the future. And also here I study a very endangered species, the Juniperus drupacea, and also we found genetic diversity and epigenetic diversity, and epigenetic diversity, no subpopulation was observed because they were in the same environment, so the trees did not face any other biotic or biotic stress. This was the idea. The idea is to start now to set a baseline for genetic monitoring and epigenetic monitoring for key species for the European Adriatic region. And then we can sit down, we can discuss what are the main key species for the European Adriatic region and start to set the baseline. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Avramidou, for this very interesting and very learning speech. We learned the difference between the DNA and epigenetics. That was really, it was a long time ago. I had bio in school, so that I forgot already. Yes, thank you for that. We would like to hear if there are any questions to the speakers. Please go ahead and ask your questions. Everything is clear. I admit that the topics are quite complicated and it's late in the day, but thank you very much for your extremely interesting presentations. And Istok, I give over to you for the summary and conclusions.
Thank you, and another applause to our Helena to today performance, which is not usual in the European Commission. So we were pleased to do so. Yes. So if we can display the conclusions, and at the end, I would like first to thank all panelists for excellent and innovative presentation that are connected with the TSG3 flagship projects. In the presentation, they confirm our hard work to establish and investigate green and blue corridors in the utmost importance of the scientific research, safety and security in the area. Having in mind that we have learned in the extraordinary presentation the proposed of draft conclusions we made together with the panelists and with the our co-coordinators. So the first hand, we can assume that the blue and green corridors aim to address the eco-connectivity. It's a vital point for enhancing good ecological status in the Adriatic-Ionian region. Biodiversity conservation requires cross-border collaboration due to the interconnected nature of ecosystem. Combining genetics and epigenetics on forest monitoring will add a holistic approach for long-term adaptation and sustainability of the green corridors. In the genetic diversity is fundamental for ecosystem resilience and adaptation to the environment protection and climate changes. And the next slide, please. We need the collaborative efforts at the regional and international level to address this transboundary work in conservation and the challenges. And also if we move to the sea, the response on oil spill in Adriatic-Ionian region and preparedness for the common work is important to keep clean and the safe sea. By the way, this was also required by the European Court that the countries in the region have such a plan in case of emergency. Then the accidental marine pollution, in particular deriving from oil spill, represents a dangerous environment risk, calling for support and urgent deployment of integrated and coordinated mechanisms and plans, such we saw that we are working in our pillar. And the last one, transferring of knowledge and best practice from the north area of Adriatic to the whole Adriatic basin and also to the Ionian Sea. It's fundamental for the strengthening of marine protection from the effects of this pollution, and especially in the case of big-scale accidents at sea. And what we already know, but we again pointed out that this cannot be managed by a single country, and there is a need of joint transnational level of cooperation. So this is, I hope that you agree. Is anybody that don't agree to the conclusion? Let's see if anybody would like to oppose. Otherwise, if there is no opposition to the conclusions, we are happy that we came to the end. And again, I would like to thank the co-coordinators in remote versions and with the Sol and all the speakers and Helen and all you to join us in this session, and you are staying with us almost until 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.